Intel B760 motherboards are finally here, and you know what that means. I get to spend more of my precious time comparing every single one of them. And today on the chopping block we have the Gigabyte B760 Aorus Elite, the most budget motherboard in the Aorus lineup. Starting off with CPU power, here we're off to a pretty unimpressive start with 12 plus 1 plus 1 power phases rated at a maximum of 60 amps. That alongside the 8 plus 4 pin CPU power connectors are all identical to what we got last generation with the B660 variant of this board, meaning that barely any progress was made in that area. Even though that's still gonna be more than enough for pretty much most CPUs, unless you're gonna be into hardcore overclocking. So if you do want to ensure that your CPU is thoroughly fed, then the Z790 Aorus Elite might be a better option, seeing how it boasts a much more robust configuration. Going down to PC expansion, here we see yet another thing that hasn't changed. Once again, we have a primary PC 16X slot, which is still Gen 4, and below that, you see those massive 16X slots? Yeah, those run at just 1x each, and that is PC Gen 3 1x. So good luck running pretty much anything other than like what? A sound card from the slots, because if you run anything more demanding on them, well, you're going all the way to bottleneck central. Though at least M.2 configuration is pretty sensible, with 3 M.2 slots in total, each one running at PC Gen 4. That is at least some improvement over the last gen board. But hey, at least in the area of PC expansion, we see the first true win for this board over the predecessor. Do you see it yet? It's this special Gigabyte PCIe latch for easier graphics card removal. Yes, that is the only real major change here. The one mistake Gigabyte does keep on committing, apart from doing those giant 16X slots that are actually 1X slots, which I rambled on about too much before, is the mere 4 SATA connectors, even though 6 is pretty much a standard, even on more budget boards like this one. The one major change, however, is the memory situation, because we are finally getting a DDR5 variant of the B760 board, something that was missing from Gigabyte's B660 lineup. But while that's cool and all, I don't think that too many people are gonna go for such a budget board while also spending so much money on DDR5 memory. But hey, what about the rear I/O, something that Gigabyte are famously good at? Well, it is good, kind of. Comparably, you are getting a whopping 9 USB Type-A ports, with 4 of them being USB Gen 2. That is a lot, even for Z790, while on the AMD boards, Wi-Fi 6E is standard. In here, you have separate Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi SKUs, which means there are a total of 4 different variants of this motherboard to choose from. But whatever, a day in which Gigabyte's weird choices don't confuse me is a day wasted. So let's get off that tangent and go back to the rear I/O, where Gigabyte are once again being confusing. If you do go for the Wi-Fi 6E variant, it does complete a rather nice selection of rear I/O, which also includes a 10 gigabit USB Type-C port, 2.5 gig Ethernet, and integrated HDMI and DisplayPort. Though sadly, we also see once again Gigabyte's insistence on trying to standardize a audio setup of just 2 audio jacks and optical SPDIF, even though 5 audio jacks and optical have pretty much been standard for decades now. Can someone please explain to the guys at Gigabyte that having less features than a motherboard from even like 3 years ago is a bad thing? Anyway, let's talk about something that isn't going to get my blood boiling as much, such as the looks. And this motherboard, just like many other Gigabyte Aorus Elite grade motherboards recently, have seen some major changes. Even the last gen B660 board was already a lot more minimalist, but still having that more edgy aesthetic we associate with Aorus. But this time they gone for an almost industrial look, and actually reminds me a lot of the Asus TUF motherboards. So if you are into that kind of Asus TUF industrial look, but you want to stay away from Asus because they burn down your house or something, then hey, here's another motherboard you can go for. So despite all my criticisms, let me do a 180 and now recommend this board for anyone who's looking for something very budget, because hey, it's still a decent budget B760 motherboard, even if it has many problems. But here's the interesting part. You can't actually buy one right now, or at least in the US, because once again, Europe comes out on top, and you can actually buy one here. So let's take the UK price here and figure out how much it's going to cost for the Yankees. First, we need to take off 20% from it as VAT, because the US may be a dystopian hellhole, but at least it doesn't have any VAT there. And then we convert that to the current rate of the USD, and we have our expected price for this motherboard. So while for the price it doesn't seem too bad, The biggest issue is how much competition this board is surrounded by. Not only are there so many other great B760 boards that don't commit some of the cardinal sins that this board does, but last gen B660 boards, even high-end ones, are now cheaper than ever. Not only that, but Z790 boards, which have a lot less cut corners than these ones, can be all yours for just $20 or $40 more than this motherboard. And while I'm usually very in favor of Gigabyte motherboards because they do so much right, the amount of mistakes they keep on committing is just piling on with every single generation, making it even harder to recommend. But if you just really need a good motherboard that looks great and will perform just fine at that price point, then hey, could be worse. So if you're after a B760 motherboard, make sure to use the Amazon links down in the video description below to get it. And while you're here, maybe check out our Patreon, because even a single $1 a month truly goes a long way, while you get awesome perks as well. I'd also like to thank my existing patrons, Gavin Burns, Ryan, Aki Beach, Rage, Ella Vronyak, Balaj Roka, Max Sumner, Shane Allcroft, Lansby, and Jesse Herdman. Thank you guys so much, support truly goes a long way. Down you can find our merch store, our Discord server, and our social media links as well. But anyway, that's what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.